4 vehicles, 2 state troopers and 2 unmarked black SUVs. Figures stood around them, a couple of officers, but also a few people in brightly colored jumpsuits, and one in what appeared to be some sort of body armor. As he watched, the individual in armor rose from the ground and hovered a few feet over the vehicles.
"We've got Sables,"
he said.
"I can see that,"
Caleb all but growled.
"Damn Dosa."
If the Department of Super-Abled was involved, they had to be looking specifically for the gang's shipment. Dosa rarely assembled for normie crime, and Vic Lucas's Sandfox gang was the only supervillain group currently active in the Southwest region, most villains preferring to work solo. The truck slowed before coming to a full stop about 2 car lengths from the barricade. The armor-wearing Dosa hero glided down from the sky to approach the driver's window. Another Dosa type, this one a woman wearing a pearly white bodysuit with curly lines approximating a gust of air embellishing it, sidled over to Jake's window. Her brown hair moved about her face, almost as if she were floating underwater. Jake gaped at her for a moment before forcing his expression to be stony. While he knew the man in the armor to be Silverhawk, the lead of the 3-man team stationed in Yuma, this woman hadn't been on the dossier Uncle had given him before the mission.
"Means they called in backup, maybe from Phoenix. This isn't good."
Silverhawk's metal-clad fingers tapped lightly on Caleb's window. Caleb rolled it partway down.
"Was I speeding, officer?"
he asked, not even trying to hide a smirk. Silverhawk's opaque visor hid the upper half of his face, but his mouth stayed a firm line.
"License and registration, please."
Caleb fished both out and passed them to the Sable. Silverhawk held the documents in one hand, then hovered his other palm over them. A blue light radiated from his glove onto the license before he passed it back to Caleb.
"Where are you headed?"
he asked.
"Bringing some car parts to my uncle's garage in Tucson."
Caleb placed the papers on the seat behind him.
"What's up with the roadblock?" "We received a report that a shipment of stolen lab equipment would be moving through the area tonight,"
Silverhawk explained. Jake tensed. A report? Had someone ratted out the family?
"Easy. No one would dare do that. Loyalty is too important to Uncle Vic. He doesn't keep anyone around he doesn't completely trust." "You all right, kid?"
The light from Silverhawk's hand flashed in Jake's face. Jake flinched, heart jumping into his throat.
"Watch it!" "You're just very quiet over there." "He's tired out. Long day on the road," Caleb said. "Can we get going now?"
Silverhawk took a step back.
"Could you step out of the car, please?"
Jake inhaled sharply and reached for his brother's arm.
"Easy."
Caleb shook him off before shooting him a look that clearly said, "Cool it." He unbuckled and slipped out. Jake forced his heart back down his throat. This was bad. They needed to get out of here. If the officers figured out an excuse to open the back of the truck, it would all be over. Caleb stood, his posture relaxed, next to the truck's cab. Jake wondered how he could be so calm. They needed an escape plan. Jake and Caleb had identical powers, so they'd basically be uncontainable to the Dosa team. That said, they were miles from anywhere, and Jake didn't feel inclined to risk a hike through the desert, pursued by Dosa and lacking basic supplies like water. Plus, it would mean abandoning their cargo and admitting the mission a failure. While this wasn't the first task he'd completed on behalf of the family, it was the first time he'd been sent with only his brother rather than with the supervision of an older villain. His mind churned over potential ways out. Something slammed into the window beside his head, and Jake jumped. His powers exploded within him, his body instinctively breaking into particles to avoid a hit. Catching himself, he drew the minuscule pieces of his being together as his eyes cut towards the source of the noise. The female Dosa agent stared at him through the window.
"Oh, crap." "Silverhawk, this one's a Sable!" she cried out.
Caleb stiffened. Jake glanced helplessly at his brother. Caleb scowled, then dissolved into a shimmering cloud of bronze dust. Silverhawk staggered back.
"What the—"
Caleb's fragmented being swept around the Dosa Sable like a swarm of gnats. He solidified behind him and punched at his armor. Silverhawk's thrusters went off. With a cry, the Sable spun into the sky.